Hello students. In this video lecturing, we will start with our fourth module in data communications. Okay. In the fourth module, the topics we will be covering are data link control, media access control, introduction to data link layer, and IPv4 addressing and subnet. Data link layer is divided into two sublayers, that is the data link control sublayer, the first topic, and then media access control sublayer, that is your second topic in this module. Okay, in this video we will discuss about data link control sublayer. Okay, under this we will be covering DLC services, data link layer protocols, and point to point protocols. First one, that is data link control. What is data link control? The data link control deals with procedures for communication between two adjacent nodes. That is, it will discuss about what are the procedures for communication between two nodes. Node to node communication, no matter whether the link is dedicated or broadcast. Okay, and this data link control, it has the following functions. One is framing, and one more is flow and error control. First, we will discuss about framing. Framing is nothing but grouping of the bits. Data transmission at physical layer takes place by moving bits in the form of signals, right? As we discussed earlier. That is, from the source to destination, bits are transferred. But at data link layer, it needs to be packed into frames so that we can distinguish each frame from one another. An example for this, which we can relate it to our daily life, is the inserting of letter into an envelope to separate one piece of information from the other. And in each envelope, we usually add the sender address as well as the receiver address, right? Similar way, in framing, in data link layer, it separates the messages, that is the frames, and it adds a sender address and a receiver address in the frame. Okay, and these frames can be of either fixed size or it can be of variable size. In fixed size framing, we need not define the boundaries for the frame. Okay, example is ATM WAN, that is wide area network. But in variable size framing, we have to define end of one frame and beginning of the next frame. That is, you have to differentiate between the frames, right? For that purpose, we have to use the start of the frame and end of the frame. In this variable size framing, there are two approaches. They are character oriented approach and the other one is bit oriented approach. First, we will see what is a character oriented approach. Okay. Okay. Character oriented framing. This character oriented framing, it is also called byte oriented framing. In character oriented framing, data is data which we want to transfer are 8-bit characters from a coding system. For example, ASCII coding system. That is, the data to be carried are 8-bit characters here. Okay. Next, initially the frame, we'll see the format of the frame. Okay, see, initially you have a flag. This flag is added at the beginning and at the end of the frame. Flag uses some special characters which signals the start and end of a frame. Okay, next is the header, this header part. Okay, it contains source and destination address and other control informations in it. After that, you have this variable number of characters from upper layer, followed by a trailer here. Okay, in this trailer you have the error detection, redundant bits. Okay, and all these fields in character oriented framing are multiples of 8 bits. This character oriented framing was popular when only text was exchanged between the data link layers. But okay, why? Because for a special field we use some special characters, right? But nowadays we want to send not only the text but different types of informations like graphs, audios, videos, etc. So, however, you select the flag. It might however or whatever method you use to select the flag, this flag might appear in between the data, and the receiver might think that end of the frame is reached. That is one of the problem in this character oriented framing. Okay, so to overcome this problem, a byte stuffing strategy was added to this character oriented framing. Now we will see what is this byte stuffing. Okay, byte stuffing is the process of adding one extra byte whenever there is a flag or escape character in the text. Okay, see to this figure here. Okay, here, see, this is the information or data coming from the network layer, data from upper layer. Okay, and in this information you have the flag here. See, whatever flag you are using, this is coming in between. It doesn't mean that this is the end of the frame, right? The end of the frame is here. So this flag is part of the information to be sent to the receiver. So what you have to do is you have to add a escape character here, which is of 8 byte. Okay, one extra byte you are adding just before the flag. Okay, here, as well as you have a escape here, which before this escape, this is part of the information to be sent. So in order to understand that this is part of the information, you have to use one escape, that is extra byte before this. Now when this particular frame reaches the receiver, what happens is, see, the receiver will identify the flag first, and then it will read the header, then it will start reading the information, and here it sees a escape character when it sees the escape character, what it will do is it will understand that the next whatever is there, it is a data or information. So what the receiver will do, it will remove this escape and it will consider this particular bits there. Okay, it will consider this data as information and it will proceed. And here again it will see one more escape. Okay, now what the receiver will do, it will remove this escape from here and then it will consider this escape here in as the data or information. Okay, and it will read the trailer, and when this flag is reached, it will understand that it is the end of a particular frame there. Okay, now this is the stuffed frame. Okay, at the that is the this is the stuffed frame at the sender, and this is the stuffed frame at the receiver. Initially you have unstuffed data, right? Okay, now this is the unstuffed data here. After removing this extra byte, these two extra bytes, you will get the unstuffed data information here, which includes the flag and escape as part of the data. And it will send this particular data or information to the upper layer there. Okay. Next, we will see the other type, that is bit oriented framing. In bit oriented protocol, the data section of the frame is a sequence of bits to be interpreted by the upper layer as text, graphic, audio or video and so on. That means, see, this data or the variable number of bits as part of the information is in the form of bits there. Okay, in this bit oriented framing, the initial flag is also a collection of 8 bits there. Okay, see, 0 followed by 6 ones and then followed by 0. This means this is always considered as the flag. Okay, the receiver will understand that this is the starting of a frame and it will identify the last, that is the end of the frame based on this particular flag sequence. But what if this sequence comes in between this data, that is information to be sent? What you can do, how to identify that particular sequence is that is this sequence is part of the data received. See, it means, see, whenever you are sending this variable number of bits, and if the receiver sees that there is a 0 followed by 6 ones and then one more 0, then it will consider, it might interpret that it is the end of the frame and it will stop. Okay, consider it as the end of the frame, but it shouldn't happen, right? You want the receiver to understand that it is not the end of the frame, but it is part of that particular data which is sent from the sender. For that, what you can do is you have to use something called bit stuffing. In the character oriented protocol, it was byte stuffing. Here it is a bit stuffing. Understand the difference? It is a bit stuffing. Okay, now what is this bit stuffing? Bit stuffing is the process of adding one extra 0 whenever 5 consecutive ones follow a 0 in the data, so that the receiver does not mistake the pattern 0 followed by 5 this for a flag, 5 ones for a flag. Okay, this is like, see, you have data from the upper layer. Okay, this is nothing but a sequence of bits there. Okay, now if whatever sequence you have used for this flag, if that particular same sequence is received by this, if it is present in the data, then the receiver might misinterpret that as the end of the frame, right? So what you can do is you have to add one extra bit, that is 0. But where to add the extra bit? It is, see, once if there is a 0 followed by 5 ones, okay, 5 ones, then after that immediately you have to place a bit, 1 bit there. Okay, similar way here also you have a 0 followed by 5 ones, so you are including 1 extra bit there. Okay, and this one understands that it is not the end of the frame, and it will continue reading this. That is the now in the receiver end, what happens is this sequence is received as it is. Okay, after receiving the sequence, what the receiver will do, it will when it encounters a 0 followed by 5 ones and then a 0, it will remove this particular 0 and consider the next sequence there. Understood? It will consider the next sequence there. See, why this is because why we are adding 0 after 5 bits is because see, in case in this particular information you have a sequence that is 0, then 1, that is 6 times 1. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 0. This is the sequence inside this data, if I say. Okay, now the flag sequence is the same, right? That is 0 followed by 6 ones and 0. Now inside the frame, when you have this sequence, the receiver should not end the frame, right? For that, what you are doing is you are following this rule, that is bit stuffing, where in between after 5 ones, that is 0 followed by 5 ones, 3 plus 2, 5 ones, here in this location, in this place, you are going to include a 0 here. Okay, now what happens, the sequence, how it will look like? It is 0, then followed by 1, 1, 1, 3 ones, 4, 5. After 5, 1, you have added 1 0, right? That is, you have stuffed a bit there, and then 1 and 0. Now the flag sequence is changed here, isn't it? Now the flag sequence is changed. Now at the receiver end, what happens? This bit, that is after you have a 0 followed by these 5 ones, you get 1 0, right? That 0 will be removed and the rest of the bits will be considered. Okay, at the receiver end I am telling. So from the sender side, data from the upper layer, you have the sequence of data from the upper layer, and at the sender you are going to stuff this data at required places you will stuff bits, extra bits into the data along with the flag header and this stuffed data, tailor and flag. You're sending it, that is a frame, you're sending it to the receiver. At the receiver, and what the receiver will do, as soon as it gets the frame, it will check for a 0 followed by, it will go on reading the sequence, and when it encounters a 0 followed by 5 ones, next it will remove that particular bit, next bit there. Okay, like you have removed escape from the byte character oriented protocol, here you are removing this extra bit, one bit here, and then it will read the rest of the sequence, and again if there is any extra bits furthermore it will remove, and it in the unstuffed information or data is got here, and it will be sent to the network layer. Hope you understood what is character oriented this one protocol and bit oriented protocol. Okay. Next is flow and error control. The most important responsibilities of the data link layer are, one is flow control and the other one is error control. This you can say flow control plus error control together forms this data link control. Next is flow control. Whenever an entity produces items and another entity consumes them, there should be a balance between the production and the consumption rates, right? Okay, that is, if the items produced by the producer is faster than the rate at which it can be consumed at the consumer end, then it might result in discarding some items. And if it is vice versa, that is the producer is too slow and the consumer is fast, then the consumer has to wait and the system becomes less efficient in this case. Okay, now see to the figure here. Okay, I'll show you. Okay, where you have okay, in the figure it shows that the data link layer at sending node, here data link layer at the sending node, that is the producer, it pushes the frames onto the data link layer at the receiving node. In case if this is that is the rate mismatches, then the here the flow control will send an acknowledgement or it will discard the bits, whatever as feasible it will do. Okay. Next is, what is the solution to the flow control? How to control it? One of the solution to this problem is the using the buffers. Okay, that is you can use buffers at both the ends, one at the sending data link layer and one more at the receiving data link layer. It will help the nodes to store the frames and do the processing. Next is error control. Usually at the receiving end, the data link layer delivers the received packets to its next upper layer, that is the network layer. Okay. So in order to avoid sending corrupted packets to the network layer, you need some means of error control. This error control at the data link layer can be implemented using one of the two methods given here. Okay. In both methods, a CRC is added, that is cyclic redundancy check code is added to the frame header by the sender and checked by the receiver. In the first method, it says if the frame is corrupted, it is silently discarded. If not, if it is not corrupted, then the packet is delivered to the network layer as it is. Okay. One example is the wired LANs such as the Ethernet uses this method. Okay. Then the second method is if the frame is corrupted, it is silently discarded. If it is not corrupted, then an acknowledgement is sent to the sender. In that case, you will send an acknowledgement to the sender. Okay. Next is the combination of flow and error control. In some situations, the acknowledgement that we use for flow control can also be used for error control as well. That is to tell sender the packet has arrived uncorrupt. Okay. If the sender does not receive an acknowledgement frame after waiting for some time, then it will guess that the sent frame is corrupted, and the sender, what it will do, it might resend the frame again in this case. Okay. Next is a DLC protocol, that is a data link control protocol, can be either connectionless or it can be connection oriented. Okay. In a connection oriented protocol, there are three phases. One is the setup phase, and one more is the transfer phase, and one more last phase is the tear down phase. In the connection setup phase, what you are doing, you are establishing a logical connection between two nodes, that is the sender and the receiver. And then in the transfer phase, all the frames are sent from the sender to the transmitter. And the last phase, that is tear down phase, once if all the communication or transmitting is done, the logical connection is terminated in tear down phase. Okay. In this type of communication, the frames are numbered and sent in order. If they are not received in order, the receiver needs to wait until all the frames belonging to the same set are received, and then what it will do, it will deliver them in order to the network layer. That is, it will sort the frames according to the numbers and it will deliver it to the upper layer, that is the network layer. Okay. In case of connectionless protocol, the frames are sent from one node to the next without any relationship between the frames. Here, without any relationship means, it doesn't mean that there is no transmission media. There is transmission media. Okay, there is transmission media, but the frames are not numbered and there is no sense of ordering. That is what it means by relation. No, there is no relationship between the frames. Okay.